Okay, so what I'm about to teach you is the simplest, most effective way to get your online business to 100K per month that almost no online coach or expert is going to talk about publicly without selling you some shitty program. And the benefit here is that it's super duplicatable and it's probably the easiest and fastest way to get there. And it's what all of these online business owners are using to get to that 100K per month. The problem is no one really talks about it, but after seeing over 500 plus businesses with the ins and outs of what goes on in between all of them in the past just 2 years alone, I can guarantee you that it's the simplest and fastest way to get there. So you're probably wondering, like, why should I listen to you? Well, not only have I been in marketing for the last 8 years, but I've overseen and written and reviewed over 750 plus pieces of copy in just the last 2 years. And I've worked with and still do some of the biggest names in the industry like Cole Gordon, Brian Moncada, Patrick Bet-David, Steve Larson, Bobby Castro, Peter Taunton, and the list just goes on. And I've personally, again, seen the ins and outs of over 500 plus businesses in the last 2 years, especially with the ones that succeed greatly and the ones that fail miserably. So I know a little bit about the process. So you might be wondering, why am I telling you this? Well, I want to bring back the focus of being the best in the industry versus making the most amount of money, because in our industry, a couple of years ago, when it was still kind of booming, people would have a really good skill and then they would sell it online. And that's how they would make a lot more money. These days, people want to make the most amount of money and then get good at the skill later, which is why they can't retain clients. It's why their businesses don't last too long, right? And they have all these different problems with scaling because they're not the best. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and flip that. I want to help you become the best in the industry for whatever it is that you're selling so that you can make a lot more money in the long term and serve a lot more people. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you here today. So let's hop into it. Okay, so we're going to use my handy dandy iPad here. And pretty much the way I want you to look at business is based around a flywheel. Now I'm going to draw a non-perfect circle. I'm just going to turn it into a perfect circle. So you have basically three things that you really want to focus on at the core. Okay, so the offer is going to be number one. That's going to be at the top. Okay. Next we have marketing. And then we have sales. Okay. So these are the main three things that you want to focus on. And when you launch your business, essentially, you go from offer into marketing. From marketing, you go into sales. And from sales, you go into offer again, right? So it's a flywheel effect, or the other way around, right? Now, later, we're going to talk about basically the triangle inside of it. Okay, but we're gonna cover that here in a sec. That's the key secret. Okay, so essentially, you want to basically look at it as like three individual pieces that all work together. Okay. So for number one on the offer, okay, what you're doing here is you're basically trying to validate the proof of concept. Okay. Um, right. Validate proof of concept. And this basically means you have some sort of value proposition that you need to put out to the market to go ahead and test and see if number one, the market does want it, right? And then number two, if it's scalable, right? Ultimately. And then number two, you have marketing, right? Just like we talked about. So marketing is basically you're just validating your positioning to the market, how you're positioning your offer, right? So validate positioning. Positioning. Okay? And just like I said, you're basically throwing a couple hooks in the water and you're seeing what kind of bait is going to catch the fish. And so then number three is sales, right? And you're basically just trying to understand the customer and their needs and wants, right? So understand customers' needs, wants. Okay. When you're at 0 to like 10K per month, this is pretty much where you want to focus on. You're testing three different things. You're testing the offer, you're testing the marketing, and you're testing the sales. Okay. Now, well, actually, let's draw the flywheel, right? So you're going one, two, and then back to one to two, two to three, and then three back to one. Okay, that's the flywheel. So you have to do it again and again and again. Now, the key here is, just from seeing all of these companies scale really well, you have to charge a high ticket, right? And that stems from being super, super good at what you do. That's why I mentioned being the best. Okay, so let's say you are really good at, copywriting, or you're really good at, um, building houses, for example. You could charge a high ticket because of that, right? Let's just call the product, let's just say it's $10,000, right? So charging 10K as opposed to something like 2K or 5K. Now to get to 100K per month, you only need 10 sales, right? But you have to be the best. You have to be very, very good. Okay. So in order to be able to make these all work, you got to charge high ticket. Okay. Next, on your marketing, you want to spend aggressive. You want to spend aggressively. Now, having managed and written for and just seen the back end of companies that spend $10,000 a month versus $10,000 a day, or even $20,000 a day, they spend very aggressively because they follow the rule of whoever could spend the most to acquire a customer wins. Whoever could spend the most to acquire a customer wins, right? So they're willing to test different ads, different creatives, right? Different messaging, positioning, and lose a little bit of money on the front end, but then make it on the back end. They're willing to take that risk and be very aggressive with it because they're charging a high ticket and because they're very good at their offer, their whatever they're selling, their service or their product, right? So again, it stems from being super good at what you do. And then from there, you also want to improve sales. So these right here, these are pretty much like the turnkey solutions. These are a bit of like the secret. Okay, so charge a high ticket, spend aggressively to test and get quick responses, right? And then just work on improving your sales and listening to the feedback that you're getting from these people. Okay? So when we go back to the flywheel effect, right? You start here, you come down here, here, and now you're back up top. You're back to the offer. Okay? So you're wondering like what do you do next? Well, there really is no secret. Pretty much just do the same thing but better. Okay? So we're going to go back. We're going to go back to the offer. What you're going to do is you're going to improve your fulfillment. Okay? So improve fulfillment and efficiency, right? So how can we get them results faster? How can we spend less to get them results, right? How can we give them more support, give them more materials, whatever it may be? How can we improve the product? Okay? Because once you improve the product, for example, when you improve the product based on your ability to deliver results. Well, instead of in your ads you say, in under 30 days, now you're saying in under 14 days. Now you just stepped up a level. Okay? So now you want to work on marketing. Okay, which is testing new angles, right? Or you're positioning better. So once you have all these sales calls, you understand that the customer bought because of this reason, not because of that one, or that they want this one, not that, or they have these needs, these wants, right, versus what you thought it was. So now you're testing these new angles and these new hooks and all that stuff. You're putting more money back into advertising, which is where the majority of your cash flow should go, right, when we're talking expenses. And then you're again working on improving your sales. So confidence, right? So the more and more sales calls you get, the more reps you're having, the more confidence and conviction you're building, right? And the more case studies you're going to have because your product is so good that you'll be able to pretty much sell these people easier, right? So again, back to the flywheel, right? We'll just say it's here. There we go. My beautiful arrows. So the flywheel effect still plays, right? And here's the other key secret. When it comes to offer, your offer is so good that you're upgrading clients. So you spend $1,000 to make, to close one client to make $10,000. Okay, but now you upgrade that client to a $20,000 program. So you made $30,000 from that one client because your program is so good, right? So from there, you're also working on testing more and faster. Okay? And then with your sales, you can pay for better closers, right? Now, we are going to talk about the secret. Remember when I told you that we were missing, that doesn't look too good. We are missing the secret that sits right here. Well, the secret is team. Okay. Now, let me tell you why team is a secret, why it's so important. Okay. The reason is because team helps you with fulfillment, with marketing, with sales. Now, you might be thinking, like, okay, we know this, right? Fulfillment, right? Results, upsells, right? You might be thinking, like, okay, like, David, I know this, you got to have a good team. But when I'm telling you the team is the most important component here, do not underestimate a company that has a very good team. Because you're not, like, if you're trying to grow your business and outbeat your competition, you're not competing against one person, you're competing against a team of brains combined who thinks like one person, right, but can think critically, right, who can think very, very smart. So when you have the right team of A players who have a pro athlete mentality, right, who take it very, very seriously, you become indestructible, right? Because these people will put so much time and effort just to help you grow, right, and add value to the clients that everything else works really well. So everything else revolves around, pretty much having, did that again, a really good team. Or just the team kind of connects everything together. So, in my opinion, because you're closing 10K deals, right? You're bringing in sales, you're closing, you want to invest in a good team. It is very, very important to do that. So that's the flywheel effect, and that's pretty much the easiest and simplest way to scale to 100K per month. And there's really no much more to it. Obviously there's tweaking a couple things here and there, but just duplicate this process more and more and more and more and more. Because if you think about it, from 10K to 100K, it's just 9 more sales at 10K, right? Whatever your price point may be, it's just more sales and getting better and improving your sales, improving your marketing, improving your offer, right? Getting more results, upgrading clients. It's just the repeat, same exact process. You don't need different funnels. You don't need different mechanisms and all this stuff and like add more to the offer or test a, different offer. Just get one that works and then just scale it through there, right? Keep it super simple. Don't overcomplicate things. So if that helped, feel free to let me know in the comments below. Give me some ideas, give me some questions. I'll be able to answer them from there, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.